All right, let's talk about a huge, long-standing problem in the world of nonprofits. For years, the very systems that are supposed to help them raise money have often been working against them. So today, we're going to look at a new model that wants to flip that script completely. It's called the sovereign network. Stop donating into a black hole. Wow, that's the core idea we're diving into. And what a statement, right? It basically suggests that when you and I donate to causes we really believe in, a whole lot of that money and goodwill just gets lost in this clunky, confusing system. So let's figure out what this black hole really is. You see, for so many of these organizations, it's just this constant, exhausting treadmill. They spend a massive amount of their time, their energy, their resources just chasing money, writing grants, running campaigns, often taking time away from the actual mission they're supposed to be fulfilling. And this chart, well, it tells the whole story, doesn't it? You make a donation, and you're thinking 100% of that is going to do good work. But that's not what happens. A big chunk gets immediately skimmed off the top by payment processors, by the fundraising platforms themselves, before the nonprofit even sees a dime. And we're not talking about a small slice here. It's usually somewhere between 10 to 20%. Just think about that for a second. For every $100,000 donated, up to $20,000 might just vanish into fees. That's money that was meant to change things, but it never even gets the chance. So what's the alternative? Well, this is where the sovereign network enters the picture. The whole idea is to make a really fundamental shift. Instead of nonprofits being these dependent customers, they become actual co-owners of the entire ecosystem.
I love this analogy for explaining the change. In the old way, nonprofits are like tenants. They're just paying rent to use someone else's platform. But the sovereign network wants to make them co-owners of the whole building, so they get a say, they share in the value. And all of this is possible because of a piece of tech called a DAO. So what on earth is a DAO? Well, think of it like a club or a community-run company, but without a CEO or a board of directors telling everyone what to do. All the rules are out in the open, they're written into code, and the entire community gets to vote on how things are run. And here's why that's so important. This DAO structure means everyone's interests are aligned. You don't have a platform trying to squeeze every last penny of profit out of the nonprofits. Instead, the whole network is designed to be sustainable for the people who actually use it and own it together. Okay, so co-ownership sounds great in theory, but how does the money actually flow? How does this thing work? Let's get into the nitty-gritty.
It really boils down to these 4 steps. First, supporters. They're called citizens here. They stake the network's token, which is called SOV. Now, staking is just a fancy way of saying you lock up your tokens to show your support for a cause you believe in. The moment you do that, boom, the nonprofit's treasury gets filled. Then, the nonprofit gets its own unique tokens, creating this sustainable pool of funds it can use to actually go out and deliver on its mission. And that quote really gets to the heart of it. This is the whole game changer. It turns fundraising from this active, stressful, relentless chase for money into a much more passive, stable flow of support from a community that is literally invested in your success. This table just lays it all out so clearly. You've got the citizens who stake their tokens and directly fund the mission. You've got the nonprofit, which gets its own tokens and a stable treasury. And then you have the network itself, which is owned by everybody, acting as this fair and transparent referee for the whole system. It's truly designed to be a win-win-win. All right, so let's move beyond the philosophy for a second. What are the real, tangible, bottom-line benefits for a nonprofit if they were to actually join a network like this? Well, let's put a real number on it. For every $100,000 a nonprofit raises, this model suggests they could keep an extra $5,000. $5,000! That's money that today would just be lost to fees, but here, it goes straight to the mission. And listen, it's about so much more than just lower fees. You're getting a super secure, transparent treasury. You're getting a whole community of people who are invested stakeholders. You're getting actual shared ownership of the whole network. And on top of that, you get things like free hosting and even rewards just for being part of it. It's the whole shebang. Okay, I know what you're probably thinking right about now. Hang on. Isn't all this crypto stuff just super complicated? And look, that's a totally fair question. It's probably the number one thing people worry about. And the answer is refreshingly simple. No. For the person actually using it, whether you're the nonprofit or the donor, the experience is designed to feel as easy as using Venmo. You tap a button, you send your support, and you're done.
Which, of course, leads to the next question. Okay, fine, it's easy to use, but do I need to understand how blockchain works to be a part of this? And again, nope, not at all. You already get the important concepts, donations and treasuries. That's all this is. It's just that the plumbing behind the scenes, the infrastructure, is new and way more efficient.
All right, so it's easy to use. You don't need to be a tech genius. But what about the real world? Nonprofits have to pay rent, salaries, real bills and actual cash. What do they do with tokens?
The system is built for exactly this. There are two easy options. You can convert your tokens into cash instantly, right there on the network's own exchange. Or you can just spend them directly with other businesses and nonprofits that are also part of the ecosystem.
Okay, this all leads to the big one, the really important question of control. If my nonprofit sets up one of these DAOs, who's actually in charge? Who owns it? And the answer really gets to the beauty of the whole design. Your nonprofit's funding DAO doesn't belong to you, and it doesn't belong to some central company. It belongs to the entire network. Now, that might sound like you're giving up control, but it's actually the very thing that guarantees fairness for everyone. And remember, you are a co-owner of that network. You have a voice, you have a vote. And really, that's the question that this whole thing leaves us with. What if the systems we use to fund all the good work in the world weren't owned by a handful of for-profit companies, but by everyone who uses them? It's a massive shift in how we think about things, and it might just be the future they're trying to build.